Everyone knows just how badly Yaya Toure and Pep Guardiola get on. Guardiola got rid of the Ivorian midfielder twice, first at Barcelona and then at Man City. But no one knows why their relationship is so frosty. Luckily, we got you covered and you're about to find out why. It all started in 2008. Toure had been at Barcelona for a year when Guardiola took over as manager from the famed Frank Rijkaard. Signed for just £12 million, Yaya had already demonstrated his talent and was dubbed to be the next Catalan star. But things took a swift turn when Pep arrived. His playing time reduced. Reason? Guardiola promoted a young Sergio Busquets from the Barcelona B team and was used as a holding midfielder. With time, the two were on totally different paths. Despite their relationship being far from perfect, they somehow coexisted. They needed each other in order to succeed. In 2009, a year after Pep's arrival, Barcelona did the impossible, winning 6 trophies in a season. Toure played his part, featuring as a central defender in both the Champions League and Copa del Rey finals. Toure, though, never understood why he was banished for so long, despite giving his all. Even when Busquets was absent, Pep preferred other players ahead of him, including Seydou Keita. After 2 years of a difficult relationship with Guardiola, Toure reached a point of no return. When the chance finally came to leave Barcelona, no one stood in his way, least of all Guardiola. Whenever I asked him something, he always gave strange answers. He pretty much ignored me until City's offer came in. That's why I eventually opted to leave. I didn't speak to Guardiola for a year, he was quoted as saying. And so, after 77 games under Guardiola and winning all trophies possibly on offer, Toure packed his bags for England. He was in search of a new challenge and freedom, and he had more to say about Guardiola after completing the move. He was very manipulative, and he messed with your head. Guardiola is very proud, and he wants to succeed with his players. Well, we know the Spaniard is known for being very demanding, and it's this very appetite to succeed that sometimes makes him lose the human side that is key for a squad to fully function. A few years later, Guardiola would take a similar path to Toure, following him to the Etihad, and it presented a perfect chance for the two gentlemen to get off to a better start. Many City fans hoped for this. By the time the Spaniard was joining the club, Toure had already become unstoppable for the emerging footballing force in England. But Guardiola did not forget to remind him. I know Yaya from a long time. He did very well in Barcelona and here as well. So he's a huge talent, and of course all the players that are here right now count on me. And that was the first sign that things will not be different at City. This time though, Yaya had the upper hand somehow. He had been at City for 6 years before Guardiola arrived, and he had a good relationship with the club's president. He was key in the City locker room. When he arrived at City, he told me that he needed me to guide the younger players. I had options to leave, but I could become a citizen legend. He asked me to stay. Maybe he was scared of losing control of the locker room if I left. Despite Toure's influence at the club though, Guardiola arrived as the Messiah, one who would take the club to new heights and win them the Champions League. He was the boss, and as expected, the club rolled out a red carpet for him and he was fully in command. It did not take long for the cracks to start showing. First, he dropped him from the 2016-17 Champions League squad, with Ilkay Gundogan and Leroy Sané getting the nod. It angered Yaya's agent, and he created a scandal out of it, attacking Guardiola in the media. The Spaniard demanded an apology first, before allowing Yaya back in the team. It was so difficult for me to put him out in the Champions League. So difficult. I know him, I know he's a good guy. But the day after his agent spoke, in that moment, Yaya is out. Until Mr. Dimitri Seluk comes back in the press or his friends in the media, he has the courage to call me, go to the media and apologize to Manchester City first. Eventually, Seluk apologized, and Toure was allowed back in the team. But after the incident, he did not play much. Like between 2008 and 2010, he was sidelined by Guardiola. Guardiola loves his players fit and would even sometimes dictate the right weight for his players. This brought yet another quarrel between Pep and Toure. He lost his place in the team and had to work hard to lose 8 kgs in order to try to find his way back in the team. But still, it was not enough. When I noticed that my stats were just as good and even better than those who were playing, I understood that it had nothing to do with my physique. According to Toure, he was only allowed to play certain tough matches. On top of this, The midfielder felt Guardiola behaved weirdly towards him. What could I do? The coach did not want me to play. Week after week, I tried to manage my frustrations. I asked myself, how could I keep such self-control? But I always was exemplary in training, and I never disagreed with the coach in the locker room. In 2 seasons, he only played 48 games. The situation was unbearable. In the blink of an eye, Guardiola ended Yaya's relationship with Manchester City. Yaya, though, had a better explanation for all this. He insists he has no problems with black players because he is too intelligent to be caught out. But when you realize that he has problems with Africans wherever he goes, I ask myself questions. He will never admit it. But did the rift between City and Toure start with Guardiola? Not so sure about that. In 2014, 2 years before Guardiola arrived, Toure's agent Seluk hit out at the club for failing to commemorate the Ivorian's 31st birthday with a celebratory cake, and it became a big thing. He publicly slammed the club for undervaluing one of their most important players. Toure tried to defuse the situation, claiming he did not agree with his agent's comments, before later tweeting that indeed, his agent does actually speak on his behalf. Many fans have always questioned why Toure, considered a true City legend, has not received the recognition the likes of Sergio Aguero, Vincent Kompany, or even David Silva have all received. The trio have their statues outside the Etihad Stadium, but strangely, Yaya misses out, despite being among the key faces of City's new era. Yaya's agent has always been accused of complicating the Ivorian's relationship with the club, and even the manager. Seluk always defended his client, no doubt, which is what a good agent is supposed to. But his fights with Guardiola and the club often always led to these unending battles. Could he have contributed to this? I guess we will never know. Was Guardiola the only one to blame? Did Toure try to back down? We don't know. What we know, though, is that they never formed a bond. Clearly, Toure seems to have never liked playing for Guardiola, not on sporting level but for human reasons. For him, Pep likes to dominate and have obedient players, something he clearly never subscribed to. He once said, "I respect my coach, but I'm not his possession." In the end, Toure's career at City came to an end, but not as he had anticipated. After everything he had done for the club, he hoped to walk through the entrance door with his head held high, but Guardiola kicked him out through the back door. It's a shame the two men never got to see each other eye to eye. They have given so much to football.